All right, welcome back to another edition of the Santa Fe, New Mexican podcast, sports podcast. I'm still not sure what the name of this thing is. It's like In the Huddle, I think, James. But I am your sports editor, James.
I thought it was a sports den, dude.
It's a sports den, something like that. I don't even know. I don't watch it, so I know my wife doesn't even watch it. But anyway, I'm Will Weber, sports editor, joined as always by my esteemed colleague, the face of Santa Fe sports, James Barron. James, look, dude, we're right in the we have 3 busy times of the year. It's November when all the cross country and soccer stuff hits, football playoffs hit, and then March for obvious reasons, basketball, and then this 2-week stretch during the spring where it's just full throttle until the end. And you get amped up, but it's weird. Every single year at this point, I get tired at the same time.
Yeah, it's like you got two. It's like you realize you got 2 weeks left in the school year, or at least in the high school sports season, and then you get 3 months to just chill,
do nothing, and then we just stare at each other looking for stuff to do. Like, well, should we cover the rodeo to Santa Fe this year or not? That's like the big debate.
Yeah, and I think it's become more apparent that it's no.
Yeah. We're very popular at the rodeo to Santa Fe.
Extremely.
We have a guest today. We are joined by Jude Torres, the head baseball coach at Santa Fe Indian School. For those of you who don't know, the baseball tournament starts this weekend. Class 3 has its best of 3 series for the opening round. Santa Fe Indian School is the number 2 seed, so they get a bye through the first round. They don't play again until next week. They'll get the winner of the Ruidoso Tularosa series, which starts Friday. The Indian School is 20-4 right now. They're 8-1 in District 2 AAA. First AAA district championship in school history. They clinched it last weekend by sweeping West Las Vegas in a doubleheader up in Vegas. Coach, welcome to the program and congratulations. Fantastic year so far.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Coach, what is the last week and a half, 2 weeks really been for you guys? Because it seems like it started with that win over West Las Vegas, and boy, you guys just really built some momentum, and it went right into that weekend series here against St. Mike's. But just what has that been like, especially for you guys? Because I think the West game was your first game after your spring break, right? Or your second game?
Actually, it was the St. Mike's game where we suffered that loss.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And that actually was the eye opener and the turning point of our season. So we went back to the drawing board. We took our shortcomings in that game and worked on those small things that make a big difference in baseball. It's always a small little things that make the big difference. So if you do the small things right, you tend to have success. So we went back to the drawing board and had some good practices, worked on the mindset, having a better approach at the plate, and our sticks woke up.
Yeah, Coach, it's hard to believe you've been there for 10 years as the head coach. But you and I talked a little bit between the games at West Las Vegas where there was that 2 years where you didn't play a single game during COVID. And you talked about how that team you had going into COVID was pretty good, maybe a state championship contender, and you've had to kind of rebuild the program since then. But here, I was looking at your past records. You have not had a losing record 1 year at the Indian School since you've been the head coach. How did you come back from that 2-year hiatus?
Oh, well, I was also a player and also an official, and being able to see all 3 sides, they're all 3 different traits, and being able to apply the mentality from all 3 into something that works and molding something that produces a successful program helped me in my aspect. But I have a great atmosphere, a great group of individuals that are very coachable and want to learn, and that's all you really need is the want to learn and be able to be criticized a little bit and work on the strengths and work on the weaknesses, and that's how you get better. But ultimately, it's trust. So the program trusted me to be the leader, and me trusting them to be the player is a key component, and I think it's a remedy for success.
What was that program like when you first took over? I think before you got there, they'd gone through a couple of different coaches, and they really hadn't had a lot of success. You know, they really struggled playing 3A ball. You know, since you guys moved up in 2000, I think it was like 2005, 2006. But when you inherited that program, I mean, what did you see, and what did you feel like you needed to work on to get this program to where it was competitive?
Well, the first thing I saw, I was actually excited. I got the kids out there and had our first interaction with them, introducing myself as the baseball coach. And I am also from the Pueblo of Okewinga, so I know some of the kids because I used to play men's league in the men's league out there. So um, I knew we had talent. It was just an order of teaching them the things we do, the whys and the don'ts, and doing a little bit of organized baseball. And from there, it all fell into place. Of course, knowing and being established in the community is a big part because, like I said, trust is everything.
Yeah, you know, we spoke about how a lot of these teams in baseball they have access to club teams. They travel ball, all that stuff. It's a little different for the Indian school, where you mentioned how a lot of these kids play the men's league games back home. They do that sort of thing. How different is the off-season culture for your team?
Well, you know, we do have a good group of kids that do play showcase baseball, which they call it now. They do play in big tournaments. They might not play club throughout a whole season, but they do play on showcase tournaments. So they do get exposure. But also the other thing is baseball is part of our culture. It's part of our native culture, and we play it. It brings families together. And we build brotherhood through that. So, you know, it is a big part of our culture. And so it is part of everything we do. And that's what makes it easy as a coach for me is the love's already there. I just got to grow it. So it's a big benefit for me.
Yeah, Jude. Can you talk about just this group in particular? I mean, it's a really young group. You got a lot of sophomores and juniors on the squad. I think you only got two seniors, really, that have seen significant playing time. But you know, what have you seen in terms of the development of this group and where they're at now?
Well, you know, like I had a good group of that are now juniors. They started for me. I moved them up right away into the fire as eighth graders into play varsity, so they could get that experience of playoff baseball. Um, um, I think baseball is handling pressure because every pitch, every play is crucial and can go one way or the other, and it has to do with a lot of emotion. So dealing with emotion is a key component with baseball. And if you could control your emotions, you're going to have success. And teaching that at a young age to my players has really benefited. Now we are a young group and we have a solid core. I see us being a contender next year also. So um, I'm very fortunate, and we have a good possibility of doing something special here with this group.
Yeah, you know, we look at your lineup, and obviously, I think a lot of attention is given to Nate Benavides, your starting shortstop, who you just watch him play. He looks smooth. He looks comfortable on the field. You can kind of tell a ball player apart from some other people just by their movement away from the ball, and he's got that very smooth, natural feel to him. But you know, he's not the only kid on that. Or you got 3 or 4 kids that are hitting, I think, 440 or above. There's some power on that team. And you look at like what Kellen Sosi did last weekend against the Indian School pitch or against West Las Vegas, throwing a complete game and coming through with a clutch hit in the second game. So look, you have to be happy with the order with the kids that you have in that lineup, don't you?
Oh yes, I'm very fortunate. I think my lineup 1 through 9 are all hitters. They have produced at some point in the season where maybe Nate or Sosi ain't hitting, and the other guys pick him up. So sometimes the bottom of the lineup does the work, and I think it's goes back to that team mentality of a flock of geese. You know, it's not always the same person leading. They have to take turns in order to get to their destination. So we do that as a team, and every crucial points throughout the season, someone else has been the one to step up and carry us.
I actually kind of wanted to piggyback off the question that Will had, especially about Kellen and everything, because I think the performance that he had the week before against West Las Vegas, especially the way he was able to kind of walk that tightrope, because he had a couple of bad innings there, and then I think on Saturday it was a little bit of the same thing. He gets a bad inning and he was able to work his way out of it, and it seems to me that's something that's a quality that your team has shown that was a little bit better than last year. Because God, I mean, I don't know how many times you guys lost 1-2 run games last year, and now it seems like it's flipped for you guys.
Yeah, and it all goes back to trusting each other. It's not going to be one individual that wins us the game. We all have to rely on a team effort. So being vulnerable in certain situations, like Sosi with the bases loaded, I had to call timeout and went out there, and I just reassured him, hey, you have a defense behind you. Just throw your strikes. Do your job. Your job's to throw strikes. Trust in your defense. We got you. We got you. And sure enough, we had a big double play that got us out of that mix. And then he finished the deal with a key strikeout and got us out of that threat. So that situation right there won us the game.
Coach, I look at your schedule and you're 20-4. For obvious reasons, you're a pretty good team. But the thing that sticks out to me is I believe it's 19 games in a row where you have not allowed more than 7 runs in any game. You have to go all the way back to the Estancia game where you had an offensive shootout where anyone scored more than 7. So you're a team that is, first of all, going to make defensive plays. You don't shoot yourself in the foot a lot. And you have pitching that isn't dominant, but just gets the job done. Is that like the unseen strength of this team? Because everyone talks about hitting and home runs and batting average, but it seems like it's doing the fundamental things on defense and on the mound that's getting you through.
Yes, and that's my philosophy as a coach is defense first, pitching. You got to throw strikes and trust in your defense. We're going to make plays, and that's relying on each other as a group. All 9 have to be able to contribute to the defensive hold. As you saw in the crucial games, it was a big defensive play that won us the game. That the bases loaded play. A play in center with with West that, it was a hit in the gap and my center fielder went and made a big play. And those are the plays that are going to win you games is defense. Yes, you need the offensive threat also, but relying on the defense, if you keep him at 0, you don't lose, right?
Yeah.
How important is it to get to that 5th, 6th inning there so that way you can throw Nate, for those last 2 innings? I mean, he's essentially your closer there.
Yes, that's a definite asset to have is Nate to come in to close because he has some electric stuff. And if we could get into even the 5th inning, I'm comfortable with him going 2 innings to shut down. One time through the lineup, he's been very successful, and I try to keep his arm fresh. Obviously, he's very strong defensively at a shortstop, which is crucial too. We need him there, so I try to only save him for closing out situations to keep his arm fresh.
Now, the tournament starts this weekend. Those best of 3 series, usually they're kind of lopsided. The teams kind of get through, but the advantage that the teams seeded 5 through 12 in the 3A bracket have over the top 4 seeds is they actually get to play. Well, the top 4 seeds, you're not even allowed to scrimmage anyone else. You're practicing, you're filling that time. And baseball, as we all know, is a game of rhythm. It's a game of timing. So you can practice all you want, but you do tend to get a little bit rusty. What do you do to bridge that gap? I mean, it's an annual conversation we had with Augie Ruiz over at St. Mike's because the dreaded top 4 seed seems to be a kiss of death to that team. And you're one of those teams that actually beat St. Mike's when they were a top 4 seed. So what do you do to get through now that you're on the other side of it?
Well, I think, you got to keep them active. You try to simulate live play as much as possible with inner squatting. I keep my JV still active to help out with to produce that inner squad stuff. But also, you have to play for the day. You can't hold your best for another day because that will shoot you in your foot. I think you got to go strong. and then you can make adjustments once you get a lead, or then you start filling in. But it's win or go home, so you gotta leave it all out on the line. And I feel that you gotta go strong regardless. You can't look forward to tomorrow. You gotta play for today.
I know there's nothing you can do about the way the bracket's set up right now, but is there one suggestion you would have to maybe alleviate or fix that problem, especially for the top 4 seeds?
I think the play-in all 16 team, it also gives the another 2 teams in the state an opportunity to make it into the state tournament. That's exciting for any school, and being able to go travel that last weekend, even if you're a lower seed, that's helps build a program, because that's how I started. We made it in as a low seat, and right there gave a little bit of a taste of how it feels to be in state. And with that, it builds encouragement moving forward of where we want to be. We want to host now, and setting small goals to get to your achievement. And obviously now is the biggest opportunity we have as a high seat, first time in our history. So we want to make best of it because we work so hard to get there.
A lot gets said about they have the baseball sports specific committee that meets every year, talks about maybe changing the postseason. And I know there's been talk about having baseball either go to a 16 team field so you can have everyone play in the first round, have those best of 3 series up front. But one of the other ideas pitched is kind of the idea of 4 regionals, where you almost like softball, where the teams kind of move on and get out. And I know that one of the suggestions is you only send 4 teams to Albuquerque in the very end. So you'd have a semifinal and potentially a best of 3 state championship. Would you rather see a best of 3 state championship between the top 2 teams and have every other game be single elimination, or do you like it the other way it is?
I think a 3-game series showcases the best team overall. Because you might have a ace that's you could throw him one game, you'll get by for one game, but to play a series, you got to have a group of kids that could get you through the series. So I think to see ultimately the better team is a 3-game series. However, the pressure of winning and it all comes, it's a chess match. You have to know your staff, you have to know your key players, who could matchups against who in this. And so I like both sides of it. Baseball's always been a chess match for me, and I think that's where I excel, is because I do my homework. I study a lot, and this is my life. Baseball's been a part of my life forever, and I love the challenge of outsmarting other teams or doing a move that gets us to the next level. There's been times in my career where I had to make a risky decision, but it's worked out for us. And it's the challenge, and it still brings out those butterflies and stuff, and that's why we do this stuff.
I know you talked about that quarterfinal game when you're the top 4 seed, being you got to go out there with your best guns blazing and everything. As far as your pitching staff, who gets that start in the quarters then?
So I'm gonna go do my homework. Like I said, I do this very. This is what I do for a living. So I'm gonna go out there and watch what strengths they have, see what potential weaknesses or strengths that I could feed off of, and then from there I'll make my decision. But I tell my kids, and they know at any point they're in the game, they're ready. You got to be ready, and they have shown throughout season long that they're ready. So they could come in at crucial moments. Just the other day, we're in a dogfight with Robertson, a close game. I had to bring in Zach, and he did some excellent work for us. I didn't really pitch him too much throughout the season, but at that moment, that crucial point in time, he came in and did his job and secured us the win.
You see what he did there, James? He didn't tell us who he's going to throw. He didn't throw his entire game plan out for the rest of the state to kind of like, now I see what he's going to do. He's going to throw Sosi the first game. Now, look, I know you had a really strong non-districts. You had a really good run through non-districts. You did lose to East Mountain 5-3. East Mountain is, of course, the one loss number one seed. They're the elephant in the room. Everyone knows about East Mountain, but it seems to me one of the biggest moments for you was that district opener against Robertson. Close game, extra innings. Because if you lose that first game in district, maybe it sets the tone. Because remember, you're coming off a 1-win district season last year. And it seems like you got through that one, and then you blew them out the second game, and then from there, your team was the team to beat in that district. Can we point to that Robertson game as one of the key moments of the season for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Again, first district game, but again, it's a strategy. We play all season long, so we played in that West Las Vegas tournament that weekend. It kind of worked out in our favor. We had an early loss against Valencia, which I said, okay, now we plan for district. District's more important than having to waste all our pitching in this tournament. We're going to play for our district. So that was the goal from that point on. Moving forward, of course, we would like to get the win and win the tournament. But however, district is more important. So, again, it's a strategy. So we said, okay, we're going to save our best for Robertson. Yes, they gave us a good game of that first game, which they always do. It's a tough district. We know each other so well. We play each other. They're great programs. Tip my hat to all the coaches in our district. Whenever, it doesn't matter what their wins, losses throughout the season, it's always going to be a dogfight when we meet up. So, it is what it is. We were fortunate to come out on the top side of it, but it did change the momentum going forward. Like you mentioned, it was a crucial game for us, and we needed to win that first series just to show that we can compete and win this district.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, you look at just looking at the overall perspective with the districts. I mean, you guys go 2-3-4, and I think it says a lot about where this district is at. And I mean, I know Robertson had a rough year and everything, but I think Robertson could probably have done better in other districts, and maybe even gotten to state and everything. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, you guys got 3 of the top 4 seeds. I mean, what does that say about this district overall?
This is a tough district, and I think this is what has helped the program get where it is, because, like you said, these type of things are hardest to simulate. You're in tough games, but that's what baseball's about. You got to be able to produce in high pressure situations, and this district definitely pushes you in that, and it also brings out the best of your team and also the best of you individually as a player, because you have to compete at that high level. And when you have success, it's something to build on. We know that these are good teams in our district. So when you have that win, like if it was easy, it wouldn't be fun. But when it's hard, it's more enjoyable. And so playing through a tough district is more enjoyable, especially to win it. And like I said, I tip my hat off to these coaches. It always comes down to a one play, one point, one something that determines the outcome. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I said, it's more enjoyable that way.
I'll give Barron the last question, but my last question to you is look, I know you're a baseball guy. It's pretty obvious. Anyone who's met you can see that within the first couple of minutes. And it looks like you can still play. I'm sure you still do play. But as the head coach, have you ever snuck in there and taken some BP off your guys? And if you have you hit one out of the net?
I do get in there, and once in a while, just show them that I could still do it. I'll hit a couple home runs, and I'll pitch to the kids and try to keep them, practice what I preach, kind of thing. So I do get it.
Did you get a bat flip in there if you hit one out? Do you do that?
No. It's just, my days are over, but I still enjoy to play. I'm gonna try to play a little bit over the summer too. Time is hard as you get older to have free time, but I try to do it if I can. So I'm gonna, until I can't. That's the mentality of a baseball player. Until I cannot no more, I'll still try to get out there and enjoy the game of baseball. It's my life. So
for sure.
My last question for you is, and it doesn't even have anything to do with this year and everything, but next year the district changes and it brings in Pewaukee, and that means you're going to have to go up 3 times against your brother. Hopefully, all things being equal, hopefully he sticks around for another year and everything. But what's that going to be like, when you got your brother in the district?
Well, we've competed since we were young kids. That's what made me a good player, is having to compete against Oliver. He's a great athlete also, but not just an athlete. He's also a tremendous coach. Also, he has a great mind. Also, X and O's guy, and it's going to be a strategy thing. I believe next year I might have the upper hand just because I'm an established program and I have the horses to do it. But I'm sure he's going to start having success here because he does have a great coaching mentality and mindset, and he'll get his players ready.
Well, with that, look, really looking forward to me. My favorite. I know James loves basketball. He loves all these. For me, my sport is baseball. I love the state baseball tournament. I sit out there all day for the entire thing. It's my favorite time of year. I could live, eat, and breathe baseball, and I actually do. But our guest this week has been Jude Torres, the head baseball coach at Santa Fe Indian School, the number 2 seed in the Class 3A tournament. They're on a full head of steam right now. They've won 8 games in a row. They're 20-4. They got a favorable path to the finals. And that said, I hope I didn't jinx you right there, Coach. I hope I didn't send you to a first-round loss. But you're fun to watch. You're a fun team to watch. You guys hit, you play defense, you pitch well. And it's just a cool story to see you guys go from last place to first in just 1 year. So
Absolutely.
Just the absolute best of luck to you and your kids moving forward.
For sure.
I appreciate that. And now I just want to say one more thing. Thank you guys for having me on. I look to represent our school and our culture. And also, I would like to say that some seasons you could just feel something special. And this season, there's something special with this group. And God willing, everything falls into place just like it has been. And one thing that I told the kids is that we got to play for someone else other than ourselves, and I think that's been the key component for our success. Is sometimes you have to play for someone else, and we play as a brotherhood, and we play for each other rather than individual success. Team success is always first. Good
for you, Coach. Hey, thanks for coming on, and really looking forward to seeing you next week in Albuquerque for that first round.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back and close the show out after this.
I'm David. I work for Chevron, and this is my New Mexico. Chevron's been here for 100 years. My family could go back even further. All of my brothers work in energy.
I grew up in Farmington, New Mexico. There is a lot to love about New Mexico. We are raising our kids here.
We're here for the long term. I'm paving the way for my daughters so that they feel the same pride in New Mexico.
Here we go.
All right, once again, that was Jude Torres, the head baseball coach of the Indian School. The baseball tournament starts Friday and Saturday for pretty much all the big schools, 4A and 5A. There's 16-team tournament, best of 3. 3A, the bottom 8 seeds play the best of 3 series of the top 4 seeds moving on. And then the smaller schools all have single elimination. So we're in the throes of that. Softball starts Wednesday. We're recording this on a Tuesday, so Wednesday – softball really gets going. And then really for the first time in the longest time, St. Mike's has a legitimate shot in 3A. With them and West Las Vegas are 2 of the top seeds coming out of 3A. And then there's some other teams in our area. And then tennis starts Wednesday with the individual singles and doubles. The championships for those are on Thursday. And then they go to team competition in tennis starting Friday with the finals on Saturday. And then, of course, the big thing this weekend is a Class 1A through 3A state track and field meet at UNM. And then Monday and Tuesday of next week is a state golf tournament. It's all 3 tournaments are down south. The AAA tournament is at Elephant Butte. I didn't even know Elephant Butte had a golf course. Apparently, it's nice. They tell me. And then next week, I believe Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, that's when softball and
Softball and baseball
and
start.
then,
Yeah.
and then big school track is the last 2 days of the following week. So a huge flurry of activity all over the place. Pretty much every sport you can think of in the spring is kicking into high gear, and it all starts really tomorrow. So we do thank Jude Torres for coming on. He's always been super approachable, really easy for us to work with. So, and it's a good story to watch them play well.
No, absolutely. I think it might be the story of the year when it comes to baseball. That program has been competitive. I mean, even though they may not have had the hardware to show for it like they do this year, but I mean, this is a team that came, 1 out away from getting to the state championship game in 2021. They lost a tough game to East Mountain. I think it was the same year that they beat St. Michael's when they were the 1 seed, and they couldn't quite pull it off. But they've been very competitive over the last 4 or 5 years, and this might be their best shot at getting to the championship game. And, the unfortunate thing is that there's a good chance that they'll probably have to run into St. Michael's in order to get that done. And that's going to be an interesting game, because it seemed to me like St. Michael's was just off 2 weeks ago. That was not the team that I think we've all kind of come to expect, and they didn't play like it, and Indian School took advantage of it. So, and maybe that was all by design by Augie. Maybe he realized, hey, if I can finish third in this district, I can get out of that dreaded top 4 seed. And now here you are, you're a 3, buddy.
Yeah, that doubleheader at the Indian School. Of course, I mentioned that when I did the following. I went to the following game that they played against West Las Vegas a few days later. But one of their star pitchers that game, Carson West, was supposed to pitch against the Indian School. He did not throw against the Indian School, and he chose to throw instead against West Las Vegas. I'm not saying that's why they lost. That's why they got swept.
No, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, but it was just one of those weird hiccup things. But
yeah,
now when Jude Torres was talking about the chess match that goes on with coaching and philosophy, you're kind of running into that a little bit, because they're going to be they're the 2 seed coming out, which tells you just by sheer numbers they should be a considerable favorite in the quarterfinals against the 7 or the 10 seed. And then on the other side of the bracket is St. Mike's. St. Mike's is the 3 seed. Of course, St. Mike's hasn't won a first round game in the state tournament since 2019. So there's to pencil St. Mike's into the semifinals is probably a fool's errand at this point. They need to actually prove themselves to get there. But the question is, do you throw your ace that first game just to get through, or do you try to wait and potentially for a bigger matchup down the road? And that's the problem every single coach runs into every single year. Do you burn your ace right away, or do you wait? And because if you wait, then like what you and I saw a couple of years ago when the Indian School beat St. Mike spotted them a huge lead right off the bat, because St. Mike didn't throw their best guy, and St. Mike's tried to play catch up the entire game. They just ran out of time. They couldn't do it. So, you make that mistake, you go home early.
Yeah, that's very true. And for Augie, and I feel bad for him, because this has kind of been a problem for him even when he was at Pecos. I remember the first couple of years that they made it to the state tournament and got to that quarterfinal round. There was always that question of, okay, who do you throw that first game? And he often tried to piecemeal his way through that quarterfinal game so that way he could have his ace for the semifinal. And it didn't always work like that. It didn't work out to his advantage. And I think the one thing that he does have that helps him probably, or maybe it doesn't actually when you think about it. I think he's got 3 really good options. I mean, it's not like you've got a clear cut number 1. I think Bryant has shown that he's capable of doing it. Obviously, I think Bird has been a steady pitcher for the last couple of years since he's been there. And then obviously Carson. I think he's the guy with the most potential and the biggest and the best arm out of the 3. But I think for Augie, he's I guess it's a good problem to have, because you don't know which guy you want to run out there. I mean, if it was up to me, my personal opinion would be Bird, just because I think he's the most consistent pitcher that they have out there, and that's really what you want. You want to get through that first round game to get yourself to the semis, and then hey, it's whoever you think is fits that situation or fits that team best.
Yeah, it'll be interesting next week just to see how that works out, because I think I would not want to be in the St. Mike's dugout at certain points, just because every single person that goes to watch them play is thinking about those first round flameouts, because they've been one of the top seeds every single year, and it's that same discussion you and I have with Augie every single year of top 4 seed, what do you have to do to get through it? So looking forward to baseball. Softball. I know you're really in tune with softball. You've seen quite a bit of softball. West
Yeah.
Las Vegas is the team to beat in 3A, but when I had a really good talk with Richard Tripp, the AD from West Las Vegas over the weekend. He said you need two things to be successful in softball. You have to have an ace pitcher who can eat up a ton of innings and shut people down, and you have to have 2, 3, 4 kids who can just mash, who can hit. You can almost hide the rest of the lineup if you have the heart of the order that can do some damage to you. And you look at the top 4 teams in the 3A bracket, all 4 of them have that. St. Mike's definitely has it. West Las Vegas definitely has it. Dexter is really good. So, like, do you see potentially an all Northern New Mexico championship game?
You know what? With the way things are set up, I don't think so. I really do believe that. Honestly, I think the best team that's playing right now is St. Mike's. They beat West last week. They beat him in a 2-0 game. Really good, really competitive game between the two. And you saw maybe 2 of the better pitchers in the state there in Nadia Cedillo and Mugi Satete. Both of them pitched really, really well. And St. Mike's just took advantage of some of the situations that they had. They were able to push across a couple of runners, and then and then Jasmine Ramirez in the 6th inning. I mean, just a one woman wrecking crew, getting 3 stolen bases, including home. To put that insurance run in there. I like the way St. Mike's is playing right now, and I think the advantage that they have is that as much as you want an ace, you need a number 2 person to kind of alleviate the amount of innings and the amount of strain that you're going to put on your ace, especially in a double elimination tournament like you have with softball. And that's something that West Las Vegas doesn't really have. At this point, I think Mugi might be. I think we saw it last year. Mugi, especially when they got into the double elimination side, where you're playing 3 games in one day. She ran out of gas. You could see it coming in the second game, and then finally when they got to that last one for the play-in to the championship, she really didn't have much of anything. And West tried to piecemeal it together, and they couldn't do it. And it led to them getting eliminated. As long as West can stay out of the elimination part, or the double elimination part of this tournament, they'll get to the championship game. Now, whether they have enough to win it all, because Dexter's got 2 really good aces, and they're both really good hitters. That's a really tough lineup that they're going to face. And regardless, if it's St. Michael's, I think they suddenly feel like, hey, we can beat them. They've gone 10 years without beating West Las Vegas until they beat them last week. And now I think that monkey's off their back, and now they just feel like, hey, it's just softball. We go out there, we can compete with anybody.
Yeah, the softball bracket is interesting because if you lose that first game, you really put yourself in a deep hole. But if you can survive the first 2 games and advance in that championship bracket, save one of the losses for later, you really have a decent shot at winning, because we've seen it all the time where teams drop into that consolation bracket, and you can be pretty salty, but man, that uphill climb is just so awful. And you talk about Mugi, I think I may be off on the numbers here, but I think she threw all but 10 innings this season for West.
Basically, that's all she's done. She's been their ace. At least with St. Mike's, they've got Ariana Cisneros, who has been that number 2 person, and she's gotten some opportunities to pitch in the second game of doubleheaders. So she's seasoned enough to where if they run into, say, you run into a Cobra or you run into a Sandia Prep. I think Maria Cedillo isn't afraid to throw her out there for 3 or 4 innings and kind of take some of the pressure off of Nadia. And on top of that, I mean, you can't forget, she's the top seed in the javelin. So she's going to be doing that on Saturday, and then following that up potentially, depending on what happens tomorrow. But coming back and following that up and having to pitch maybe 3 or 4 times the following week.
Vastly different throwing styles.
Yes. Yes. And she had an impressive performance at the Sepulveda that got her the number 1 seed, and she's the favorite to win that. And so she's got a lot on her plate, and it's a busy time. But one thing that I noticed, and something that I talked with Maria about, is she's not as worn out as she was last year. Last year, she was doing powerlifting, and she competed all the way into the championships. She's doing track. She was the only pitcher that they really had after Ariana got hurt early in the year. So she was having to tackle on the kind of innings that Moogie's doing right now, and so she was just worn out by the time she got even to the first round games where they were hosting, and you could just see it when they played Robertson. She just wasn't herself. This time she looks a lot fresher. Your arm looks a lot stronger, and she's pitching with a lot of confidence right now.
Yeah, when I was over the weekend, last weekend, I drove up to West Las Vegas to watch the Indian School play West in baseball doubleheader, and at the same time was a District 2 AAA track meet right at just about 100 yards away. And the thing is that you can always tell when a school has a really good track team based on their travel itinerary. So I was driving back, I passed the St. Mike's Travelcade that they had, which is 2 huge buses. Tells you how many kids actually compete in track at St. Mike's.
Yeah.
I think the boys are going for their 900th state championship in a row. And
I believe it's 7 now for the boys and 6 for the girls.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's funny you bring that up. They may have had more kids there on Saturday, but Indian School walked away with the boys title on the district side.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a shock to me. And it leads me to believe that I think the path to a 5th straight or 6th straight sweep of the boys and girls title is going to be a lot more difficult for them this year on both sides. On the girls' end, you're going to see Santa Fe Prep. They've got some really good distance runners, some really good 800 runners, and then you can sprinkle in some sprinters. So they might be able to piecemeal something together, kind of like what they did last year, where they had like a 20-point lead on St. Michael's at one point, and they just didn't have enough. When St. Mike's, all of their athletes just came in and just scored a bunch of points and they lost by 5. I think it's probably going to come down to that 4x4 again, and we're going to see if Santa Fe Prep has enough to be able to pull that off. But I think they're right there. And with Indian School winning the boys side, you got to consider them, and with what they have, especially I think in the sprints and in the jumping events, they could have a shot. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's still St. Michael's as the team to beat.
The beautiful thing about this time of year is you love track so much that I don't have to touch it. So while you're at the state track meet Friday and Saturday, you're in your element. It's like unleashing a 6-year-old in a candy store and then locking the doors behind him. So
heck yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
I get to leave you alone and just kind of do your thing, and I'll go off cover everything else. I'll do the tennis and softball and do whatever else I can get to. So it's a weird time. It's a different time, but let's close the show on the bloodletting that is happening at New Mexico Highlands. Now, everything really started to hit the fan late last week. Thursday, Friday, I believe, is when they put President Neil Wolf on paid administrative leave. That was also the time that they announced a 3-year contract extension for the men's basketball coach. And then over the weekend, so many rumors started to unravel about people getting put on leave or getting fired. And it all blew up on Monday. Of course, everyone is willing to talk off the record, but no one's willing to confirm anything. Must have heard a list of 5 or 6 prominent names at Highlands in different positions who were fired or let go or whatever, however you want to talk about it. The only thing that looks like it's for certain is that Neil Wolf is on paid administrative leave. Take it for what it is. And then some other people are going to be packing up their ficus trees and moving on, including maybe 1 or 2 in athletics. So we'll find out exactly what happens there. But as they say, James, if there's ever a slow day for news in northern New Mexico, you either go to Espanola or you go to Las Vegas.
You go to Las Vegas. Yep. And it never fails.
Never, ever fails. But that's one of the interesting things about our business is everyone wants to talk, but as soon as you push the record button,
they all clam up.
Like, no, you didn't hear it from me.
I got nothing to say,
Well, we can't use the unnamed sources. And in some of the stuff that rolls out with the people at Highlands has been National Enquirer kind of stuff. And we can't run any of it. And of course, when we don't have those stories in the paper, I get texts and emails. How can you do that story?
And you're like, well, nobody will go on the record. Come on, guys. Somebody's got to say something.
Yeah, because if I run that story, I open myself up for a lawsuit for slander. I can't do that. So let's just, as if with everything else, they're hoping it'll go away just by not talking about it. But eventually the word will come out that the people that we've heard about are actually on their way out the door. So
Yeah.
thank you, Highlands, for another interesting news cycle. Just wish we could have done more with it, but it is what it is.
Hey, hey, there's plenty more where that, and as I always say, where there's smoke, there's fire, and I'm sure more will definitely come out, and I think we'll see what exactly the reasons were behind Wolf's termination, or as placed on leave. But I think everybody kind of knows that's code for he's on his way out. He's not coming back. So let's not parse words here. I mean, being placed on leave is just merely is merely how should I say, HR speak for you're not wanted here anymore.
And full disclosure, I've met with Neil Wolf. I went up there, of course, when he pitched that $85 million proposal to the state to redo the entire athletic facility, which was interesting and also wildly there's no way
unattainable.
Man, I'm pretty sure the state could win the Powerball lottery and you still wouldn't get that money. I thought I liked Neil Wolf as a person. I still do, and I think he's always treated me fairly. But it's just one of those things where it looks like it starts at the top and kind of rolls downhill, and that's definitely where New Mexico Highlands is headed. So, just tip of the iceberg, brother. So,
yeah. There's more to come, and I'll bet you it happens while we're at state, and it always happens like that.
Yeah,
right
when we're the busiest. Exactly. That's when all the phone calls and texts come in.
You know, the Indian school is going to be one pitch away from the state title, and you're going to get that text saying, "Oh, hey, they got rid of the entire athletic department."
Yeah, or so and so did this. You should look into it. It's like, oh gosh, all these.
Oh, I love that. And then when you explain to them what you need, then they're like, "Oh, well, let me get back to you on that," and then you never hear from them again.
Yeah, or I'll tell you whatever you want to know, but you can't
put my name to it.
I get it. I see how it goes.
All right, that's okay. You do that.
That's the age we live in. So with
Yes, it is.
with that, we're gonna. I think just to be safe, you and I should focus on high school sports because that's our safe spot for us.
Yes, it's our safe space.
It all starts Wednesday tomorrow, and then all the preview stuff and everything. We'll have stories as we go. Of course, as always, subscribe to our newsletter. Go to the New Mexicans newsletter link. Click on that and then subscribe to us. We update that once a week. We'll probably do it a couple times throughout the Spring Sports Championships. And as always, and we've gotten really good response from this. If you have an athlete of the week suggestion, pitch it, send it to us because we always love hearing about athletes that we can't get to. And of course, we mentioned a few of them in the paper today. So with that, we will see you next week for the Spring Sports Championships. We'll be right in the middle of it. I'll probably be down at Elephant Butte. I don't know where you'll be next Tuesday, but
yeah, I don't know yet either. But let's find. But I can't wait to find out.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, folks. We'll see you next week.